everyone, welcome back to i-TUTOR IAS Academy Tamil Nadu History NCERT series. So today we are discussing chapter 16, that is Indian National Movement from 1917 to 1947. So this period actually widely called as a Gandhian phase of the Indian National Movement because Gandhiji's entry from this phase, and it's a third phase actually, and last two phases we already discussed in last chapters 14 and 15, so please refer that. And during these 3 decades the struggle transformed from a series of regional protests into a massive nationwide movement, that is Purna Swaraj. So in second phase there is a Swaraj, and but it's Purna Swaraj, complete independence, okay, led primarily by Mahatma Gandhi through the principles of non-violence and satyagraha. The path is satyagraha. And what are the phases of these movements? First one is early satyagrahas, that is the early period is 1917 to 1918. So the Gandhi established his leadership through local successful struggles, that is Champaran Satyagraha, Kheda Satyagraha, Ahmedabad Mill strike, that is on 1918. These are the early early phases of this satyagrahas, okay. And the first mass movement, that is time period is 1919 to 2022, okay, 1922. That is the first mass movement period, okay. So it's triggered by the repressive Rowlatt Act 1919, the Rowlatt Act, we already discussed about Rowlatt Act, and the subsequent Jallianwala Bagh massacre, and the non-cooperation movement, that is around 1920 to 2022. It aimed to paralyze British administration by boycotting the foreign goods, schools, and like courts, etc. And it merged with the Khilafat movement to forge Hindu-Muslim unity. So that is the first mass movement in this international movement time period. And the second mass movement is 1930 to 34. Okay, so 1929 there is Lahore session, declared Purna Swaraj as the goal. Okay, and the civil disobedience movement in 1930. It's a famous Dandi March, salt satyagraha to break the British salt monopoly. So that is the second mass struggle movement, and the final movement struggles was 1942 and 47. Okay, that is around Quit India movement 1942. Quit India movement is there, do or die. Okay, Gandhi gave the call for do or die, demanding immediate British withdrawal. And parallel effort include Subhash Chandra Bose Indian National Army, that is INA, which sought to liberate India though armed conflict. So these are the phases of actually mass movements are in three phases: first phase, second phase, and the final phase. And also there is earlier satyagrahas also there. So these are the phases of this international movement. The time period is 1917 to 1947. So major events are, there is August Declaration in 1917, and the Government of India Act in 1919, and Simon Commission is there in 1927, and 1928 Nehru Report is there. It's the first attempt by Indian to draft a constitution, that is the Nehru Report in 1928, and Government of India Act again 1935. Okay, there is 1919 also Government of India Act, that is dual government, and 1935 it provide provincial autonomy, it established a federal structure. Okay, so now the federal structure is there, central government and states governments are there, that's a federal structure. And 1946, that is cabinet mission proposed a plan for union of India and constituent assembly. And in 1947 there is Mountbatten plan, and it announced the partition of British India into India and Pakistan. And 1947 Independence Act, that is formal end of the British rule on August 15, 1947. So these are the major events. Okay, and further we will discuss in this unit, okay, one by one. And so in this unit we are going to discuss the life of Mahatma Gandhi and his involvement in Indian freedom struggle, because its phase all known as Gandhian phase, and impact of Jallianwala Bagh massacre on the national movement and Khilafat and non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement and soul satyagraha, the Quit India movement and its impact on the freedom struggle and cabinet mission plans. So these are the main topics we included in this unit, chapter 16. So it's little bit lengthy this period is. So in between any doubts you can contact or comment on our comment box also. Okay, so first of all, advent of Gandhi, and the third and final phase of the national movement is there, 1972-47, is known as the Gandhian era. Okay, so during this period the Mahatma Gandhi became the undisputed leader of the national movement, and his principles of non-violence and satyagraha were employed against the British government, and Gandhi made the nationalist movement a mass movement. Okay, so this is Mahatma Gandhi. And Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was born in Porbandar in Gujarat on to 2nd October 1869. So 2nd October, Gandhi Jayanti. He studied law in England and he returned to India in 1891. And in April 1893, he went to South Africa and involved himself in struggle against apartheid. Okay, that is racial discrimination against the black, that is apartheid, for 20 years. And finally he came to India in 1915. So thereafter he fully involved himself in the Indian national movement. Okay, so that is the background of Mahatma Gandhi. And Mahatma Gandhi began his experiments with the satyagraha against oppressive European indigo planters at Champaran in Bihar in 1970. Okay, so there is a start from Champaran. In the next year he launched another satyagraha at Kedah in Gujarat. Okay, Champaran and Kedah, in support of peasants who were not able to pay the land tax due to failure of crops. And during this struggle Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel emerged as one of the trusted follower of Gandhi. And in 1918, Gandhi undertook a fast unto death for the cause of Ahmedabad mill workers, and finally, the mill owners conceded the just demand for of the workers. And the local movement at Champaran, Kedah, and Ahmedabad brought Mahatma Gandhi closer to the life of the people and their problem at the grassroots level. And consequently, he became the leader of the mass. Okay, so that is the beginning of Gandhi. Next is Rowlatt Act 1990. In 1917, a committee was set up under the presidency of Sir Syed Rowlatt to look into the militant nationalist activities, and on the basis of its report, the Rowlatt Act was passed in March 1990, and it by the Central Legislative Council. And as per this act, any person could be arrested on the basis of suspicion. No appeal or petition could be filed against such an arrest. So this act was called the Black Act. Okay, so this act called Black Act, and it was widely opposed, and All India Hartal was organized on 6 April 1990. And a meeting were held all over the country. Mahatma Gandhi was arrested near Delhi, and two prominent leaders of Punjab, and Sir Dr. Satyapal Pal and Dr. Saifuddin Kichlu were arrested in Amritsar. Okay, so this is the Rowlatt Act 1919, and the Jallianwala Bagh massacre in 13 April 1919. And the Jallianwala Bagh massacre took place 13 April 1919, and it remained a turning point in the history of Indian freedom movement. In Punjab, there was an unprecedented support to the Rowlatt Satyagraha. Facing a violent situation, the government of Punjab handed over the administration to the military authorities under General Dyer. Okay, and he banned all public meeting and detained the political leaders. On 13 April, the Baishagi, that is a harvest festival, a public meeting was organized at Jallianwala Bagh Garden. Okay, and Dyer marched in and without any warning opened fire on the crowd. And the firing continued for about 10 to 15 minutes, and it stopped only after the ammunition exhausted. According to official report, around 379 people were killed and 137,137 wounded in the incident. So there was a nationwide protest against this massacre, and Ravindranath Tagore renounced his knighthood as a protest. And Jallianwala Bagh massacre gave tremendous impetus to the freedom struggle. So this is the turning point of the freedom struggle. Okay, Jallianwala Bagh massacre. And Khilafat movement, the chief cause of the Khilafat movement was the defeat of Turkey in the First World War. So the in between there is World War first started, and the harsh term of Treaty of Sèvres 1920 was felt by the Muslim as a great insult to them. And the whole movement was based on the Muslim belief that the Caliph, that is Sultan of the Turkey, was the religious head of the Muslim all over the world. And the Muslims in India were upset over the British gratitude against Turkey and launched the Khilafat movement. And Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad, that is M.A. Ansari, Saifuddin Kichlu, and the Ali brothers were the prominent leaders of this movement. A Khilafat committee had been formed, and on 19th October 1919, the whole country had observed the Khilafat Day. And on 23rd November, a joint conference of the Hindu and the Muslim had also been held under the chairmanship of Mahatma Gandhi. And Mahatma Gandhi was particularly interested in bringing the Hindus and the Muslims together to achieve the country's independence. And subsequently, the Khilafat movement merged with the non-cooperation movement launched by Mahatma Gandhi in 1920. So that is the Khilafat movement. Okay. Next is non-cooperation movement, that is 1920 to 22. Mahatma Gandhi announced his plan to being non-cooperation with the government as a sequel to the Royal Attack, Jallianwala Bagh massacre, and Khilafat movement. So it was approved by the Indian National Congress and at the Nagpur session in December 1920. So what is the programs under non-cooperation movement? The programs of the non-cooperation movement were surrender of the title and honorary positions, and resignation of membership from local bodies, boycott the election held under the provision of the 1919 Act, and boycott of government's functions, boycott of courts, government schools and colleges, boycott of foreign goods, establishment of national schools, college and private panchayat courts, and popularizing Swadeshi goods and khadi. So these are the programs under non-cooperation movement. Okay, the movement began with Mahatma Gandhi renouncing the titles which were given by the British, and other leaders and influential persons who also followed him by surrendering their honorary posts and titles. Students came out of the government education institution, national schools such as the Kashi Vidyapid, the Bihar Vidyapid, and Jamia Millia Islamia were set up, and all the prominent leaders of the country gave up their lucrative legal practice, and legislatures were boycotted. No leader of the Congress came forward to contest the election for the legislation. And in 1921, the mass demonstration were held against the Prince of the Wales during his tour of India. The government resorted to strong measures of repression. Many leaders were arrested, and the Congress and the Khilafat committee were proclaimed as illegal. At several places, bonfire of foreign clothes were organized. The message of Swadeshi spread everywhere, and most of the households took to weaving cloths with the help of charkas. But the whole movement was abruptly called off on 11th February 1922 by Gandhi following the Chauri Chaura incident in the Gorakhpur district of UP. Earlier on 5th February, an angry mob set fire to the police station at Chauri Chaura, and 22 policemen were burned to death, and many top leaders of the country were stunned at this sudden suspension of the non-cooperation movement. Mahatma Gandhi was arrested on 10th March 1922. And the significance of the non-cooperation movement, it was the real mass movement with the participation of different sections of Indian society such as peasants, workers, students, teachers and women, and it witnessed a spread of nationalism to the remote corner of India, and it also marked the height of Hindu-Muslim unity as a result of the merger of Khilafat movement, and it demonstrated the willingness and ability of the masses to endure hardship and make sacrifices. So these are the significance of the non-cooperation movement. So this is Motilal Nehru here. So Swaraj Party. So what is Swaraj Party? The suspension of the non-cooperation movement led to split with the Congress in a Gaya session of the Congress in December 1922. So leaders like Motilal Nehru. So here is Motilal Nehru and Chittaranjan Das formed a separate group with the Congress known as the Swaraj Party on 1st January 1923. And Swarajist wanted to contest the council election and wreck the government from within. An election to legislative council were held in November 1923. In this, the Swaraj Party gained impressive success. In the Central Legislative Council, Motilal Nehru became the leader of the party, whereas in Bengal, the party was headed by C.R. Das. Okay. And the Swaraj Party did several significant things in the Legislative Council. It demanded the setting up of responsible government in India with the necessary changes in the Government of India Act of 1919. The party could pass an important resolution against the repressive law of government. Okay, and when a committee chaired by the Home Member Alexander Mudinman considered the system of diarchy as proper, a resolution was passed against it in the Central Legislative Council. After the passing of C.R. Das in June 1925, the Swaraj Party started weakening. Okay. So that is about Swaraj Party. And next is Simon Commission. Simon Commission also important. 1927. The Act of 1919 include a provision for its review after lapse of 10 years. However, the review commission was appointed by the British government 2 years earlier of its schedule in 1927. It came to be known as Simon Commission after the name of its chairman, Sir John Simon. And all its 7 members were Englishmen, as there was no Indian member in it. The commission faced a lot of criticism even before its landing in India, and almost all the political parties, including the Congress, decided to oppose the commission. And on the fateful day of 3rd February 1928, when the commission reached Bombay, a general hartal was observed all over the country, and everywhere it was greeted with the black flags and the cries of Simon, go back. At Lahore, the students took out a large anti-Simon Commission demonstration on 30 October 1928 under the leadership of Lala Lajpat Rai. In this demonstration, Lala Lajpat Rai was seriously injured in the police lathicharge and he passed away after 1 month. And the report of Simon Commission was published in May 1930. It was stated that the constitutional experiment with diarchy was unsuccessful, and in its place, the report recommended the establishment of autonomous government. There is no doubt that the Simon Commission report became the basis of enacting the Government of India Act of 1935. Next is Nehru Report 1928. Okay. So these are the connected incidents. Okay. So in the meanwhile, the Secretary of State, Lord Birkenhead, challenged the Indians to produce a constitution that would be acceptable to all. And the challenge was accepted by the Congress, which convened an all-party meeting on 28 February 1928. A committee consisting of 8 was constituted to draw up blueprint for the future constitution of India, and it was headed by Motilal Nehru. The report published by this committee came to be known as the Nehru Report. So the report is favored of dominion status as the next immediate step, full responsible government at the center, autonomy to the provinces, and clear-cut division of power between the center and the provinces, and a bicameral legislature at the center. So however, the leader of the Muslim League, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, regarded it as a detrimental to the interest of Muslims, and Jinnah convened an all India conference of the Muslim where he drew up a list of 14 points as Muslim League demand. And next is civil disobedience movement. That civil disobedience movement 1930 to 34. So in the prevailing atmosphere of restlessness, the annual session of the Congress was held at Lahore in December 19 29. During this session, presided over by Jawaharlal Nehru, the Congress passed the Purna Swaraj resolution. Moreover, as the government failed to accept the Nehru report, and the Congress gave a call to launch the civil disobedience movement, and the Congress had also observed January 26, 1930 as the day of independence. Since then, January 26 had been observed as a day of independence every year. And the same date later became the Republic Day when the Indian Constitution was enforced in 1950. Okay. Next is Dandi March. So this is the picture of Dandi March, and the stage was set up for second major struggle led by the Congress. So this is the second major struggle. On 12th March 1930, Gandhi began his famous march to Dandi with his chosen 79 followers to break the salt laws. He reached the coast of Dundee on 5 April 1930 after marching a distance of 200 miles, and on 6 April formally launched the civil disobedience movement by breaking the salt law. And on 9 April, Mahatma Gandhi laid out the program of the movement, which included making of salt in every village in violation of the existing salt laws, and picketing by women before the shops selling liquor, opium, and foreign clothes, organizing the bonfire of foreign clothes, spinning clothes by using charka, and fighting untouchability, boycotting of schools and colleges by students, and resigning from government job by the people. Over and above all these, the program also called upon the people not to pay taxes to the government. And soon the movement spread to all parts of the country, and students, workers, farmers, and women all participated in this movement with great enthusiasm. As a reaction, the government arrested important leaders of the Congress and imprisoned them. Round Table Conference. The British government adopted the strategy of talking to different political parties by convening the Round Table Conference. The first Round Table Conference was held in November 1930 at London, and it was boycotted it by the Congress. And in January 1931, in order to create a conducive atmosphere for talks, the government lifted the ban on the Congress party and released its leaders from prison. And on March 8, 1931, the Gandhi-Irvine Pact was signed. As per this pact, Mahatma Gandhi agreed to suspend the civil disobedience movement and participated in the second roundtable conference. And in 1931, the second roundtable conference was held at London. Mahatma Gandhi participated in the conference but returned to India disappointed as no agreement could be reached on the demand of complete independence and on the communal question. In January 1932, the civil disobedience movement was resumed. The government responded to it by arresting Mahatma Gandhi and Sardar Patel and by reimposing the ban on the Congress party. Okay. Next is Pune Pact, that is on 1932. By 1930, Dr. Ambedkar had become a leader of national stature, championing the cause of the depressed people of the country. And while presenting a real picture of the condition of these people in the first round table conference, he had demanded separate electorate for them. And on 16 August 1932, the British Prime Minister Ramsay MacDonald made an announcement which came to be as the Communal Award, and according to this award, the depressed classes were considered as a separate community, and as such, provisions were made for separate electorate for them. And Mahatma Gandhi protested against the Communal Award and went on a fast unto death in the Yerawada jail on 20 September 1932. Finally, an agreement was reached between Dr. Ambedkar and Gandhi. This agreement came to be called as Pune Pact, and the British government also approved of it. And accordingly, 148 seats in different provincial legislatures were reserved for the depressed classes in place of 71 as provided in the Communal Award. And the third round table conference came to an end in 1932. The Congress once more did not take part in it, and nonetheless, in March 1933, the British government issued a white paper which became the basis for the enactment of the Government of India Act 1935. and that time the Second World War and national movement was there. In 1937, elections were held under the provision of the Government of India Act 1935, and the Congress ministries were formed in 7 seats of India. On 1st September 1939, the Second World War broke out. Okay, so 1939 is the Second World War, and the British government, without consulting the people of India, involved the country in the war, and the Congress vehemently opposed it. And as a mark of protest, the Congress ministries in the province registered on 12 December 1939, and the Muslim League celebrated that day as a Deliverance Day. Okay, in March 1940, the Muslim League demanded the creation of Pakistan. So that is the Second World War and national movement. And after individual satyagraha started, during the course of the Second World War, in order to secure the cooperation of the Indians, the British government made an announcement on 8 August 1940, which came to be known as the August Offer. Okay, the August Offer envisaged that after the war, a representative body of Indians would be set up to frame the new constitution. And Gandhi was not satisfied with its offer and decided to launch a individual satyagraha. So, individual satyagraha was limited, symbolic, and non-violent in nature, and it was left to Mahatma Gandhi to choose the satyagrahis. Acharya Vinoba Bhave was the first to offer a satyagraha, and he was sentenced to 3 months imprisonment. Jawaharlal Nehru was the second satyagrahi and imprisoned for 4 months, and the individual satyagraha continued for nearly 15 months. So this is Vinoba Bhave picture, and this is Sir Stafford Cripps. Okay, so that is a Cripps mission in 1942. So in the meantime, the Viceroy Lord Lindley expanded his executive council by including 5 more Indians into it. So in July 1941, and however, in the midst of worsening wartime international situation, the British government, in its continued effort to secure Indian cooperation, sent Sir Stafford Cripps to India on 23rd March 1942. So this is known as the Cripps mission. Okay, so here in independence time, there is First World War and Second World War was there. Okay, the main recommendation of Cripps were the promise of dominion status to India, protection of minorities, setting up of a constituent assembly in which there would be representative from the princely states along with those of the British provinces, and there would be provision for any province of British India not prepared to accept this constitution either to retain its present constitutional position or frame a constitution of its own. And the major political parties of the country rejected the Cripps proposal. So Gandhi called Cripps proposal as a post-dated check. Okay, so post-dated check. These are the recommendation from Cripps side, and they did not like the right of the princely state either to send their representative to the Constituent Assembly or to stay out of the Indian Union. So the Muslim League was also dissatisfied as it demanded for Pakistan had not been considered in the proposal. So these are the Cripps missions history. And next is Quit India movement. Quit India movement is 1942 to 44. So failure of Cripps mission and the fear of an impending Japanese invasion of India led Mahatma Gandhi to begin his campaign for the British to quit India. And Mahatma Gandhi believed that an interim government could be formed only after the British left India and the Hindu-Muslim problem sorted out. And All India Congress Committee met at Bombay on 8 August 1942 and passed the famous Quit India resolution. And on the same day, Gandhi gave his call of do or die. Okay, so on 8th and 9th August 1942, the government arrested all the prominent leaders of the Congress. For once, this pre-planned action of the government left the Indian people without leadership, and Mahatma Gandhi was kept in prison at Pune. And Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Abdul Kalam Azad, and other leaders were imprisoned in the Ahmednagar fort. And at this time, leadership was provided by Ram Manohar Lohia, Achyuta, and S.M. Joshi. The role of Jayaprakash Narayan in this movement was important. And large number of students also left their schools and colleges to join the movement. The youth of the nation also participated in this movement with the patriotism, and strikes, demonstration and public meeting were organized in various towns and cities. Slowly, the movement reached the rural areas in 1943 as the movement gained further momentum, and there were armed attacks on the government buildings in Madras and Bengal in 1944, and Mahatma Gandhi was released from jail. And Quit India movement was the final attempt for country's freedom, and the British government ordered for 538 rounds of firing, and nearly 60,229 persons were jailed. So, at least 7,000 people were killed. So, this movement paved the way for Indians' freedom. So, it aroused among Indians the feelings of bravery, enthusiasm, and total sacrifice. So, that is the Quit India movement. Okay. And Indian National Army was there under Subhash Chandra Bose. So during the course of Second World War, armed revolutionary activities continued to take place. The role of Subhash Chandra Bose towards such activities is incomparable. And on 2nd July 1943, Subhash Chandra Bose reached Singapore and gave the rousing war cry of Delhi Chalo. And he was made the President of India Independence League and soon became the Supreme Commander of the Indian National Army. And he gave the country the slogan of Jai Hind. The name of the INA's three brigades were the Subhash Brigade, Gandhi Brigade, and Nehru Brigade. The women's wing of the army was named after Rani Lakshmi Bai. And the Indian National Army marched towards Imphal after registering its victory over Kohima, and after Japan's surrender in 1945, the INA failed in its effort. Under such circumstances, Subhash went to Taiwan, and then on his way to Tokyo, he died on 18 August 1945 in a plane crash. So the trial of the soldiers of INA was held at Red Fort in Delhi, and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru and Bulabhai Desai and Tej Bahadur Sapru fought the case on behalf of the soldiers. So that is the role of Indian National Army, that is INA. And cabinet mission is there on 1946 in history. So after the Second World War, Lord Atley became the Prime Minister of England. On 15 March 1946, Lord Atley made a historic announcement in which the right to self-determination and the framing of a constitution of India were considered. So consequently, three members of the British cabinet, that is Patrick Lawrence, Sir Stafford Cripps, and A.V. Alexander, were sent to India. So this is known as the cabinet mission. And the cabinet mission put forward a plan for solution of the constitutional problem, and provision was made for three groups of provinces to possess their separate constitution. And the cabinet mission also proposed the formation of Union of India, and comprising both the British India and the princely states, and the union would remain in charge of only foreign affairs, defense, and communication, leaving the residuary power to be vested in the provinces. And a proposal was envisaged for setting up an interim government which would remain in office till a new government was elected on the basis of a new constitution framed by the Constituent Assembly. And both the Muslim League and the Congress accepted the plan. And consequently, elections were held in July 1946. So, for the formation of a Constituent Assembly, the Congress secured 205 out of 214 general seats. The Muslim League got 73 out of 78 Muslim seats, and an interim government was formed under the leadership of Jawaharlal Nehru on 2nd September 1946. Okay. So, Mountbatten Plan, 1947. So, this is Lord Mountbatten. What is Mountbatten Plan? On 20 February 1947. Okay. Prime Minister Attlee announced in the House of Commons the definite intention of the British government to transfer power to responsible Indian hands by a date not later than June 1948. So thus to effect the transfer of that power, Attlee decided to send Lord Mountbatten as Viceroy to India. And Lord Mountbatten, armed with vast powers, became India's Viceroy on 24 March 1947, and the partition of India and the creation of Pakistan appeared inevitable to him. And after extensive consultation, Lord Mountbatten put forth the plan of partition of India on 3rd June 1947. And the Congress had the Muslim League ultimately approved the Mountbatten plan. So that is the Mountbatten plan. And the Indian Independence Act 1947. So the British government accorded formal approval to Mountbatten Plan by enacting the Indian Independence Act on 18 July 1947. The salient features of this act were the partition of the country into India and Pakistan would came into effect from 15 August 1947. So British government would transfer all powers to these two dominions. The boundary commission would demarcate the boundaries of the provinces of the Punjab and Bengal, and the act provided for the transfer of power to the constituent assemblies of the two dominions, which will have full authority to frame their respective constitution. Okay. And the Radcliffe Boundary Commission drew the boundary line separating India and Pakistan in between. So on 15th August 1947, India, and on the 4th August, Pakistan came into existence, two independent. Okay, one is on 15 and one is on 14. And Lord Mountbatten was made the first Governor General of independent India, whereas the Muhammad Ali Jinnah became the first Governor General of Pakistan. And the most tragic incident occurred on 30th January 1948 when Mahatma Gandhi, the father of the nation, on his way to prayer meeting was assassinated by Naduram Godse. So that is the end of the, actually we can say, the starting of the Indian independence. Okay, so this is the Indian independence, that moment event. So here is the India and Pakistan in 1947. So this is the division of India and Pakistan. So that is our in history of independence. Okay, so you just go through it one by one. These are the historical events in between the independence. Okay, so in this chapter so far we discussed what all things. First of all, Gandhi's really experiment of satyagraha made him a mass leader, and non-cooperation movement and its success we discussed. Political activities between 1922 to 1930, such as Swaraj politics, anti-Simon struggle, and civil disobedience movement, roundtable conference, and Pune Pact, Quit India movement and its impact, and the role of INA in the freedom struggle, and cabinet mission to the independence of India. So these are the main topics we discussed from this unit. So in between, any doubts you can contact us anytime, or you can comment it on our comment box. And for more NCERT series, you just do like, share, and subscribe our channel. Thank you so much.